Hi, it's Joe Mazumdar of Exploration Insights at the Metals Investment Forum, the virtual Metals Investment Forum in September. My guest is also in Vancouver, and with me I've got former CEO of Evrim Resources, now the CEO of a newly put together company formed by the merger of Evrim Resources and Renaissance Gold, Orogen Royalties, Paddy Nicol. So this transaction just closed recently. So what should investors be thinking about the new company? Why the transaction?
Hi, Joe. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Certainly, yeah, we closed our transaction with Renaissance Gold to form Orogen at the end of August. So we are very new, and we've entered the royalty space, two former prospect generators. And the main thrust behind the transaction really related to two key assets that both Evrim and Renaissance had, and they were effectively both organically generated royalty assets. And what I mean by that is they were royalties that were created through joint ventures that we had with our existing exploration partners. And so both have had discoveries, especially in the case of Ermitaño. And then with the silicon royalty, which is what Renaissance had, that's been progressing on very nicely. And then in behind all that, we have a fantastic generative exploration team that now covers the Western Cordillera of North America. Evrim always had a desire to make an entrance into the Western US. And certainly the expertise that the Renaissance team brings to the table in terms of their capabilities, specifically in Nevada, really sort of filled that hole. So, I think there's a lot of synergies between both teams. And the other thing too is that when you put two companies like Evrim and Renaissance together, you're bringing down a whole lot of administrative costs that really aren't needed between two companies. It's better to get it down to one.
Okay, so let's just go through these assets, because you're becoming a from a prospect generator to a royalty generator with a bit of flexibility because of your working capital. But I mean, so when you look at deals formerly as Evrim and now as Orogen, how do you look at them differently?
In terms of our deal structures that we do with our partners? Yeah. So the historic sort of deal structures that we've had is that we've always allowed our exploration partners to come in and earn some level of interest in our projects. And it was always hinged on exploration expenditures, which is great, and some cash payments. And then at some point, we would have to participate if there was a discovery and if the project, went on to become successful and they exercised their option. I think now, being an organic royalty generator, we are primarily focused on royalty creation. We'd like to do that in a shorter time frame. A lot of the deals that we used to have were sort of 10 years out, even 15 years out. And that, from a timeline perspective, isn't it's too far off in the future to determine valuation on what royalties might be worth. So what we want to do now is we'd like to create the royalty crystallization event sooner. So trying to get our deals down to sort of 5 years, make it yes, exploration intensive. We want to see money spent on the ground to develop the projects. We'd like to see cash payments too, but that's all in exchange for allowing our exploration partner to earn a greater percentage, if not the entire project.
And how do you deal with buybacks in that? Do you allow them? Do you take them out?
No. In terms of the royalty itself, or in terms of what I think every group you deal with has a different perspective on where they would like to see a royalty sit. But the end game for us, obviously, is to get somewhere between, well, basically it's a 2% NSR, net smelter return royalty. And so if that is the case, then we will ask for something larger, such as a 3% with a 1% buyback. We'll allow for that. But, once we get down to a 1%, it's a bit harder for us to want to do a deal in that regard. So we try to stick to the two where possible. And if we can, we will go for more.
So your main assets are Ermitaño, which is a 2% NSR on a vein that's being developed right now by First Majestic that just did whatever $78 million equity raise with Eric Sprott.
I saw that,
So
yeah.
this is a near-term asset. It's not like something that's far off. This might be cash flowing as soon as the first half of next year. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. And so, yeah, we've got a bit of sequencing in terms of where we see our royalties coming into sort of revenue generating mode. And as you mentioned, Ermitaño is not far off. Even with COVID-19 and the pandemic, that it slowed things a little bit down with First Majestic, but they have been making some great strides. They've invested approximately $29 million into the underground development of the Ermitaño vein system, and it is an underground target that they're going after in terms of mining activity. The milestones that we see in front of us basically over the next 6 months to 1 year include a pre-feasibility study, which is due out probably Q1 of 2021, with production slated around mid 2021. And the resource that we're talking about is, on an indicated basis, it's about 311,000 ounces of gold and about 4.7 million ounces of silver. And then an inferred resource is of, I think, 370,000 ounces of contained gold and almost 7 million ounces of contained silver.
Yeah, and the thing is that we're dealing with the Santa Elena plant that they purchased through the acquisition of another company,
Right.
And they're feeding it underground ore from their own operation in Santa Elena, but
Right.
also this spent heap leach material, which is something that they're looking to displace.
Yeah.
But it looks like Ermitaño's grade is even higher than their undergrounds, such that it could come and replace everything. So it's not as if your NPV from the third and wait for the other stuff to get spent. It would actually, it seems.
Right. So in terms of, you're exactly right. So I guess there's two factors at play here. One of which is the grade. The grade at Ermitaño is quite a bit higher than what we see at Santa Elena. They're at the bottom of their deposit now, and the grades are dropping off in terms of precious metals. The base metal grades are showing up, but they are coming to the end of the mine life. And so they might have 1 year to 2 years left on the deposit. And then at that point, during that time, they will be adding Ermitaño ore. So next year, they will replace it with probably a percentage of what we see at Ermitaño in terms of how they balance the production. But at some point, they will fully switch over to the Ermitaño deposit. So in terms of mine life, they have indicated somewhere between 8 to 10 years at this stage. The bottom of the deposit remains open, the deposit remains open at depth. There's lots of opportunity to expand on the size of the deposit.
So the asset you acquired from Renaissance Gold, I mean, besides a portfolio of projects in Nevada, a few premier geos based out of Reno, you acquire this project, an NSR on Silicon. And what is Silicon?
Silicon is located in the Bear Mountain District of Nevada. It was a target that was picked up by a Renaissance, I think, back in 2016. At the time that it was staked, it was based on perspective it was a low sulfidation epithermal target. Since they've optioned it out and now AngloGold Ashanti has acquired it, they are the partner on the project. They have conducted 19,000 meters of drilling over 47 drill holes. They continue to drill to this day. They've expanded. Actually, they received a permit earlier this year for an additional 109 drill sites. And so they have been active. The one key thing about all of that is that they have not released any results yet, but they continue to drill, and they've drilled a lot. And so we're hopeful to see what they have done, and we're hopeful to see results. What it exactly is, we don't really know in terms of deposit model or anything like that. So we're keen to learn it. But by the actions of AngloGold, something's there. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing the work that they're doing. But within the district, myself personally, getting to learn more about what's going on there. You've got some various players in the camp, most notably Core Mining's in there. Corvus Gold is in there as well, and they're drilling along sort of the same fault that we're drilling along, approximately 1,500 meters to the south, right up to the claim boundary where Silicon in Core and Corvus's claims sit. And they are coming out with some good results. Core just announced a 71-meter intercept of 1.8 grams per ton gold, and both companies remain drilling. So it's a neat area. Regionally, you've got the Bullfrog mine, you've got the North Bullfrog Mother Lode deposits in there as well. So it's an area of good endowment, and we're just patiently waiting to see, what results come out from Silicon. And in terms of timing, as I mentioned, Ermitaño is certainly the short-term asset. This is what we would consider sort of our medium-term asset, and then obviously the portfolio in general that we've got is a longer-term asset that we look at.
So just to sum up for our viewers who are potentially looking at Orogen, and the royalty space is rather crowded, and we've seen new companies come in. So how do you distinguish yourself as this new Orogen royalty company coming into this space?
Yeah, I think for us, what people can look at is that how we acquire and generate our royalties. It's organically. We won't be the group that goes out and buys baskets of royalties from other producers or other companies. Our cost of capital is still relatively high. So we're going to do things a bit more strategically. So organic royalty generation through our joint ventures. And then the other side of it is strategic royalty acquisition, using our sort of boots on the ground knowledge, our business development skills, and looking at one-off acquisitions where we think projects that have royalties on them that stand a greater chance of A, having a discovery, and B, going into production in the future.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Hopefully that was helpful to the viewers out there. So Paddy Nicol, Orogen Royalties CEO, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
That's it for me, Joe Mazumdar, Exploration Insights at the September Virtual Metals Investment Forum. Thank you very much for joining us.